Star Trek Miami Vice crossover.
Well, it was. You were smacking that Miami Vice period.
There is a crossover between the motion picture, isn't there, and TNG. I mean, the theme tune.
Theme tune is it Jerry Goldsmith?
Yeah,
but it's
did he write the right one?
The motion picture theme tune.
And to touch on like what we had started this about with the dislike of the Enterprise D.
Is it Jerry Goldsmith? Sorry,
Jerry Goldsmith.
It was Jerry Goldsmith. Sorry, continue.
The motion picture Connie refit that is universally loved by most people. You know?
Oh, the Constitution refit.
Yeah,
it's your favorite ship, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Doesn't get a lot of static at all. You know.
No, it absolutely doesn't. No.
Yeah, actually, they remodeled the whole thing. It was going to be the Enterprise for Phase 2.
Yeah.
And then it became slow motion picture. Enterprise. Yeah. Then they did that. I think James Cawley in Star Trek New Voyages, his fan series.
Yeah.
They started some of their episodes and they've exchanged they kept the original Constitution saucer hull and warp struts.
That's right.
But they stuck on the
Phase 2 engines.
The Phase 2 engines to kind of make a crossover.
Motion picture gets a lot of ribbing, being too slow, too cerebral, and all that kind of stuff. But you just can't beat that first viewing of the Enterprise, Kirkin, and
the special effects,
starship porn.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. My gosh, she's beautiful.
Yeah,
but it was a fantastic scene, and the music as well as she comes out of the construction bay or whatever it's called,
the space dock.
The space dock. It was just a fantastic shot.
Well, that was after 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
They'd done all the special effects, so it was like, they've just made this, and they've made Star Wars. Well, we need to do something. What properties? Paramount are sitting around going, what properties do we have to compete with this? We've got that Star Trek show we've been repeating for ages. We're making a new TV series. Make it a movie. And then we got that. The slow motion picture is actually better if you watch it. The director's cut.
Yeah. It tends to make a bit more sense if you watch the director's cut.
Yeah, director's cut, which is unfortunately only available in standard definition.
It is.
It was only
a TV version or something, wasn't it?
No, there's multiple versions of the slow motion picture. There's the theatrical release, and then there was a TV version which actually has an extra scene with Sulu and Chekhov oogling Ilea, which was cut out of the director's cut. But the director's cut was only ever made for what they thought was the best standard of home video, which was DVD, and it was made for a special DVD release. But they never thought they would need 4K or they would need even 1080. So it's only available in standard definition.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it is a better version. They cut out an awful lot of the flying through V'ger sequences and replace it with a couple of character scenes that weren't in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, exactly.
But that ship is loved, and But if you ask me, every time I'll choose the Galaxy class starship as my favorite.
Yeah.
Even though it has somebody had put that in the Aztecing on the struts, you can find the word UGLY.
Oh really?
Which I don't think should be there.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's on the.
You're a fountain of information today.
Alan has so much information that I've never heard of. You've read so much more about starships than I have.
As soon as it came out in the early 90s, I bought the Star Trek Next Generation technical manual.
I have that, yes.
And that was a Bible to me. I read that thing cover to cover and back again. And
really?
I carried it with me everywhere I went.
That is such a fascinating book. I've not read it cover to cover, but I've read sections of it. And if you read it thinking of what it is, which is complete bollocks.
But it has an internal logic.
But for all you Americans out there, I was going to explain that to you, but Chief O'Brien has already done that, so that's
Chief
okay.
O'Brien, they got away with that in an episode of DS9. But yeah, you read it and you're just like, it's an amazing exercise in complete nonsense, science nonsense. It's so much fun for people like us. But you read it and they do have elements of real science in there.
Yeah.
Every section of it does have a point and it makes sense. But if you read it, it is just science bollocks.
Yeah.
Because it's just nonsense technology that doesn't exist yet.
We're not obsessed with that, and so you can tell I'm obsessed about my starships.
Yeah,
and that book was just
Oh yeah, no, so good. I bought it twice.
Yeah, I had Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise. I
have that too. Yeah.
That wasn't read half as much as the Next Generation.
Which one, sorry?
Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise.
Oh yes, yeah.
That covered the
Constitution refit.
Constitution refit.
Yeah. That's
and I think part of that now, I mean, it is the design of the ship and it's all of that, but I think a part of that, as we touched on it earlier, is the sense of family that you get from the crew of that ship.
Yeah, because the D was a character in its own right.
It was a character in its own right.
Well, and it had a child.
Yes,
in
it
episodes
did.
in season 7. It had this weird alien pipe child.
Yeah.
But the Enterprise D, like, okay, you probably have the blueprints for the
Yeah,
deck.
yeah.
Yeah, I have those
Yeah.
too. And there's a great community out there. There's a couple of guys doing it. There's a great community out there. I think the one that's most active at the minute is Stage 9. You can find them on YouTube. They do updates, and what they are doing is they're building the Enterprise D in virtual space using Unreal Engine 4, I believe. And they are going to release eventually a VR version. And personally, I have the Oculus. Frank has the PSVR. But I'm hopeful for that. And they're actually populating the ship with little AI characters and stuff like that. But they've built the whole ship with the aesthetic of Probert's designs based off those deck plans.
It was the same. Another missed opportunity was D'Agostini in Japan.
Right.
Had released a couple of issues of Build It Yourself Enterprise D.
Right.
Which would, it was a kind of large scale model, but internally it would have perspex deck by deck.
Oh, wow.
With the rooms etched into the glass.
Oh my God.
And it also would light up.
Wow.
So you would strip it down.
What happened? Did that get cancelled or something?
It went out for a trial run. I think they released like 3 episodes, or 3 issues. And then D'Agostini just thought
nobody's going to buy this.
It was released, I think, during a period when there wasn't much
Trek
happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
it should have happened like in 1990 or something.
There are petitions, to get it brought back.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew Probert actually was selling a few issues. He'd had a couple, and I think he sold them on eBay.
Right.
Only recently.
That's great if you were getting the entire collection in a purchase. But if you're only getting a section, you'd be like looking at that section, going, I don't want the rest of it.
Yeah. It did look beautiful.
But the sense of family on the Enterprise D, like all the quarters, you had family quarters. There was schools on board.
Yeah.
If you look at the deck plans, there's so many holodecks than holodeck 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe holodeck 3 was just set aside for the senior crew.
Senior command crew.
The command crew can only use holodeck 3. It was cordoned off for everybody else. But there are giant holodecks. There's a cetacean. There's cetacean pools.
We never got to see that.
Which you never got to see. Like there's a cetacean pool for if you don't know what that is. It's there were pools for fish creatures. Or experimentations. You could fit an orca in comfortably.
To go into it,
you could. I wonder where they got that.
You never
idea
know when you might need to go back in
1986.
time and pick up a couple of whales. So it's
exactly.
important to have that.
Apparently, one of the original designs was that you could walk around There was a corridor to the outside of the rim of the Enterprise D.
Of the saucer section.
Of the saucer section,
Right.
where 10 forward is.
Yeah.
So you would walk. They would have scenes where people would walk, and you'd come past the cetacean pool thing,
Right. Okay.
where you would have whales kind of frolicking in the water while people walked by and read the lines.
That frolicking was all after the 9 o'clock window.
It
Though,
became,
Sorry.
I think it
Watershed,
became
Frank.
kind of either too expensive or it was just.
It would have been way too expensive.
It was a shot down idea. It had been a bit too much.
But I mean, they're there on the plan. It's like in the classic series, the original Constitution class Enterprise has a bowling alley.
That's right. Yeah.
It has a bowling alley on board because bowling was huge in the 60s.
I didn't know that.
There's a bowling alley. It's on the plans, and it was, I don't know if it was referenced. I think it was referenced in books or something. But yeah, there's a bowling alley on the original and probably the Constitution refit Enterprise. You don't need a bowling alley on the Enterprise D. It's got holodecks. You can have whatever you want.
Yeah, you can have
But for science purposes, there's science labs all over the ship.
Yeah.
They can. It could take 5,000 people if it was doing a colony transfer or taking colonists or a planetary rescue. It could take on board 5,000 people if necessary. Even though there was was it 1,014 people generally was the number on board. And there's so much more to the Enterprise D. And another reason to bring up Stage 9. These guys on YouTube, we should do a podcast about that as well. But the one thing that the television budget would never allow, but the Enterprise D has this massive shuttle bay was it deck 6? Where's shuttle bay 1? I can't remember what deck it is.
Deck 3 or 4, isn't it?
Deck 3 or 4.
Just below the bridge.
It's down the back. So that's in a colossal colossal space within the deck plans and all sorts of parking bays for we only got to see Shuttle Bay 2.
Yeah.
You know, everything went in and out of Shuttle Bay 2. It's almost like the door on Shuttle Bay 1
Except was a cause and effect when they opened
they
Shuttle
opened
Bay
it,
1.
yeah. It's just like, that's why you don't go in there, because they could just open it up at any point and you
blow the ship away.
You'd be blown into space. But of course, we know it's constraints and budgetary constraints and why you have to use smaller sets for that type of stuff. But there's all sorts of these wonderful things that Andy Prober put into the thought of the Enterprise D, and the color scheme, I think, as well attributes a lot to the family feel of the Next Generation. And even Gene, when you look at the original artwork, Gene wanted this feeling. The observation lounge originally, I think, was supposed to be down low in front of the bridge.
Yeah.
So you'd sit on the bridge in the command section, but then you'd go down into this couch area, and that's where you would have your conversations and you're dealing with your characters. And
those windows
and
are still there, you know.
Yeah.
But they never used it.
And but then they got rid of that and they stuck it in the back in the conference lounge. And what windows are that? What windows are you talking about?
There are windows kind of. You have that oval at the front of the bridge.
Yeah.
The bridge module.
Oh, the bridge module.
There are windows.
Oh,
that
on the model.
Functioned as that observation room. You know,
of course.
They're still there, but they just never used them.
Yes. You can kind of see it. Well, you can't see it on this, but it's actually right here. Yeah, there's a whole. It's like deck 2. Yeah. You would have stepped down into deck 2, and deck 2 was a whole area.
I was obsessed with that ship.
Okay.
I tried to find the windows to Picard's quarters and Riker's quarters.
Well, actually, you know what? This is a geeky podcast, so I'm going to go geeky. One of the things that I quite liked that even I watched All Good Things.
Yeah.
2 nights ago, and wonderful episode. Was actually one of my favorites, and because it goes back to the start. It goes into the future, and one of the things that All Good Things did at the very end, the last shot, it cuts from Picard sitting at the poker table, and so I should have done this an awful long time ago, and then the camera pulls away from the Enterprise, from the exterior hull, the Enterprise D. It actually pulls away from where Riker's quarters are.
That's
on
right.
the plans.
Yeah.
So if you read the plans, Picard has quarters up the front near 10 forward.
That's right.
Riker is on the right hand side, the starboard side, and Troy has identical quarters to Riker on the other side of the ship.
Yeah.
Now, whether they requested that at the very start, because they'd had that relationship, and so keep him far away from me, and then when they got married, well, they got the Titan, but that was kind of nice. It shows you how much the crew and even the special effects guys that had put into all that little bit of detail. And Riker's quarters, they are here on the ship, and they pulled away from that, and that's the last time you see it in the Next Generation.
They even included on the underside of the saucer, you do have a deflector dish.
You do, yeah.
For when the ship separates, because a lot of people would say
it's 4 squares,
like,
4 little squares.
Like the Reliant, people say, "Where's the deflector?"
Dish.
Shield on a deflector dish in the Reliant. No one knows.
Yeah.
But the Enterprise D did have those little windows.
And actually, when they redid the Blu-rays for Encounter at Farpoint, they say they give the energy to the space creature, the Farpoint station creature. When they redid the special effects for that energy transfer, they come out of that. It comes out of that deflector dish. It's not the main deflector dish. It's the secondary saucer section deflector.
And that was
dish.
a great thing about the Blu-ray remasters, that they corrected a lot of stuff with phasers coming out of windows and energy beams coming out.
Worf has been drinking again.
That's broken. Don't tell the captain. Just lean out the window there with handheld.
Yeah, but that scene that you're talking about there, where they pull back from Picard and the rest of them playing poker, I think calls to why TNG resonates 30 years on, because it's a scene of a family getting together for a game of poker. And I think we've had so many shows since then with Deep Sea Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise, but none of them resonate the way TNG does, and not even the original Star Trek, and because that ship feels like it's a home of a family, and the characters that you get on TNG, for example, I think I said earlier, it's one of the great arguments out there. Who's better, Kirk or Picard?
Picard.
You never get any of the other captains. It's
Yeah,
always
it's
Picard,
never
because
Kirk versus
TNG
Sisko,
have
Kirk versus
gone-
Janeway. Who's
yeah.
better?
Yeah, exactly. It's Kirk and Picard, and it's
I think you could put
You know.
Jonathan Archer in there.
yeah, I think so.
I
I
think
mean,
you could put
from
Jonathan
my point
Archer
of
in
view,
there.
yeah, certainly. You know what I mean?
And
It's
how did you feel after that shot had completed and the Enterprise warped off? You know,
I had VHS tapes to watch.
yeah.
I just go back and start.
I'm
again.
gonna
I'm going right back to the
go a little
start.
bit off tangent and say it gave me the same emotional impact as watching Babylon 5 explode in Sleeping
Yeah.
in Light.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I'll actually admit to tearing up at that B5 episode.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because it completed that storyline. And even though TNG was episodic, you grew with the family.
yeah.
They did keep the character changes when
You know.
when Tasha dies.
Yeah.
Picard is because this is the thing that I was watching All Good Things a couple of nights ago, and you know they kept that emotional the emotional loss of Tasha because Denise left, but they kept it right up until All Good Things because you know Picard comes out in his nightgown or his dressing gown and finds Troy, and he's having tea in his quarters with Troy, and then we do some time jumps, and then it cuts back to Picard looking out the window, and he turns around. And because you've just cut from him being in the shuttle pre-encounter Farpoint with Tasha,
Yeah.
and he just turns around to Troy with this emotion on his face, this emotional loss on his face. And I was just, are you okay? What happened? And I was just in the shuttle with Tasha.
Yeah.
And he goes over and he sits down, and it's a moment where this man in command sits down in a chair and then just kind of wipes his mouth and really has a thoughtful moment of and she was dead 6 years,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so there's these moments, these characters. Of course, that's drama, that's television, that's acting, but it was something the Next Generation was
Very good at.
very good at.
And another good thing about that encounter, or not All Good Things, was when he does jump back to those season one.
Yeah.
It does feel like season one. There's a kind of quirkiness to it, and the characters are acting like they did.
Yes, yeah, like
Yes, they
Data.
were, yeah.
Brent brought back
Yeah.
Data and his
Yeah.
kind of more, as Riker said, Pinocchio-esque.
Yeah. O'Brien. You know.
O'Brien, like
Yeah.
Colomini in that is
Yeah.
brilliant. I do enjoy Colomini in that episode. He in All Good Things. Because at the time he was acting in Deep Space Nine. He came back as a cameo for that episode, and but it was I think he just slotted in there so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they felt like they did in season one. It wasn't like, here's these season 7 guys acting like season 7 guys. They were actually acting awkward like they did in season 1. It was it was very well done. And I enjoyed it.
Do you guys hear? I'm gonna get because I literally just watched it the other night. I spotted two mistakes made in the episode that were glaring to me. Do you know the two of them?
No.
There's a big one on the bridge.
On the bridge.
On the big one, the huge one on the bridge.
Is it the captain's chair?
It's the captain's chair. Yeah. They didn't replace the captain's chair
That's
because they
right,
were
yeah.
using it on the Pasteur.
Yeah.
Right.
However the schedules were shot, or however that the season 1 chair had been modified, the season 1 captain's chair with the sloping brown, and they had to use to pop up the controls.
That's right.
You had to pop up the controls. That chair had been reused in so many other secondary bridges, or had been severely modified. They didn't change that back when he time jumps. So you could argue an alternate universe and a fan conspiracy theory there if you want. And also, Data. Data was a junior grade lieutenant according to his uniform. Whoever's uniform they had gotten to put on Brent for shooting All Good Things, they never bothered to change the rank pips.
They got his pips wrong.
They got his pip wrong. And you could get away with it. Only only Picard calls him Commander Data.
Yeah.
In engineering, and he's all through the season 1 uniform shots. And that means we're coming close to the end. Do you guys want to continue?
Yep.
Let's keep going.
Let's
keep
do
going.
some Star Trek Continue stuff here.
It's 3-parter.
That's a 3-parter out of this. I have to change some tech stuff.